I would like to call the Committee on Budget back to order. Members, we have our council communication number 82. These are our worksheets. And members, I will go per page because I want to be able to allow for different council members to share their amendments. Members, I do want to direct us to the first item. This is my recommendation. This was my procurement of major equipment. This was the move from the operating budget to the CIP. There have been movements, I have not accepted the Royal Hawaiian bands at the cost of $30,000. So I would like to have you all cross out. If you see the recommendation title of $9,031,760, if you could please change it to $9,001,760. So just basically subtracting $30,000 from the amount. Once again, it is $9,001,760 instead of the total on there. That is $9,031,760. Okay, so and it will still be under the funding of GI. With that, I would like to draw our attention to design and construction for the Civic Center structure reconstruction. This is an amendment made by Councilmember Say. It deletes the funding for the project of the parking structure, and I would like to provide the opportunity to Councilmember Say, and then also allow for the city administration to provide comment. Okay, so we have Councilmember Say for $1.5 million reduction for Civic Center parking structure.
Thank you very much. The reason why I did delete 1.5 million was the fact that I needed that 1.5 million for other projects. So it became budget neutral, but at this point in time, I believe DCS will probably state that they do need the 1.5 million. So at this point, I can make the recommendation to reject my amendment. Okay.
I mean, it's worth having the conversation. I would like to keep it on for right now so that we can have the conversation, okay? And so you said DCS?
DCS.
Oh, DDC. Okay, so you did hear the recommendation from Councilmember Say. I'm keeping it on the books as I need it on the books to discuss, Director Millis. So for your feedback, for the removal of 1.5 million for the Civic Center parking structure and reconstruction. Is there an update on that?
Good evening. Haku Millis, Director for the Department of Design and Construction. Thank you for the question and the conversation. So this project, as you guys know, we're redoing the parking structure and rebuilding the school on top. We are in process of bidding this out right now. We're hoping to get the bid out next month. And so the 10 million is what we're estimating that we'll need, but we'll know a lot more once we complete a design. So while I'm usually not willing to remove money, I think 1.5 is okay, but we will likely need that money back in 26. But like I said, we'll know a lot more once we get the design completed, and so we may need more, could potentially be less. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, Councilmember Say wants to withdraw it, but I want to keep the reduction in. I know that it leaves a little over $9 million still for the department relating to this. The Director Millis did mention they will look forward to further funding in FY26. Are there any questions for Director Millis? Councilmember Say.
Madam Chair, the reason why I wanted to withdraw my proposed amendment was because I truly believe that this Civic Center parking lot should be built, and the fact that Seagull School should, be relocated there after the completion of the parking structure. I did give the director a timeline to get it done. And the timeline was that he has to get it done before his son graduates preschool.
Okay, I think that's a joke. Okay, I'm not really good with jokes. Okay, okay. So just want to reiterate though, because the amount would be not under a little over 9 million. Do you expect to expend at least the 9 million for this FY25?
Yes, we do expect to spend that.
Would you expect to need the 1.5 million that's proposed to be removed, although the requester is requesting to withdraw it?
I mean, it's not ideal, but like I said, it's an estimate, right? So when we get the design completed, which we will be working on, then we'll know more of a more accurate number. So, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, you got more jokes, Uncle Cal? Okay. Councilmember Say, do you have any other further discussion? Because I do want to keep it in. We are in CD1.
Okay, why don't you keep it in for now and see what we come back with a CD2.
Okay, with CD2, just like to see. Okay, members, any discussions or questions relating to this? Okay, we're going to accept that. Members, I know that, thank you.
Thank you.
I know that some of us weren't here, so I want to say, if you look at the recommendation total for number 1 under procurement of major equipment, instead of 9,031,760 members, it is 9,001,760 and still under GI. So once again, look at page 1, number 1, 9,001,760, which is $30,000 less. Okay, so I'm going to accept that as well. Council members, we're still on page 1. We have the acquisition of replacement for police vehicles for HPD at the amount of $4,275,000. Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this amendment with the department is just to allow the department more time to procure the vehicles that they need, as has been done in the past, from my understanding. So moving to CIP because of that.
Moving it to CIP, understood. Thank you very much. And how much, when was the last time we were procured or replaced police vehicles?
Chair Cordero, I think we do it every fiscal year. So
Every
our
fiscal year.
vehicle garage has a maintenance schedule. So we're not just buying cars on a whim. So
Okay, and
we
how much was
appreciate that.
expended last year for the replacement of police vehicles?
I believe it was roughly the same. All right. How much? So it'd be about roughly the same, 4.2.
Oh, the same amount. Okay. And those were in operating or CIP?
CIP.
Okay, and so was it last appropriated last fiscal year or 2 years ago?
So we're spending down from the previous fiscal.
So there's still money under this program.
Yes, correct.
How much is left? And then,
That would have to get back to you, Cordero, Councilmember Cordero.
okay. So yeah, it would be good to know because if we're matching it, that means we're doubling it. Yeah?
Correct.
Okay. I'll look for your response back. I'm gonna have my staff make sure to ask that question so we don't like double as much the 4.275 million. Okay, members, any questions relating to this? I will accept. Okay. Next up, we have traffic signals at various locations. Members, if you want to add other streets too, please feel free to let us know and we can add it to the proviso. Councilmember says, traffic signals at various locations. We have included the speeding radars, sorry, I don't know what words mean anymore, near Roosevelt High School on or around the intersection of Nehoa Street and Mott Smith Drive. So I'm accepting the language change. Any questions? Okay, no other questions on any requests for additions? Any radar? Okay, no. Okay, next up, flood control. We have flood control improvements at various locations, which is the language change to include, but not limited to, which is good, meaning it's not restricted to just Kamiloiki Stream, by Council Chair Waters. Any questions for, this is under DDC. Any questions for DDC? Okay, any questions? Any additions? Okay, I accept then. Next up is the Ocean Safety First Responder Center. Plan and design for an Ocean Safety First Responder Center for the North Shore Safety District by Councilmember, our Committee Vice Chair Wire. And anything before we have the department up?
No, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask Dr. Ireland some questions about it.
Sure, okay.
Okay.
But you're in support of it, okay.
Correct. I'm in very strong support
Okay.
of the proposed amendment.
Okay, go ahead, ask the question.
Thank you, Chair. Mahalo, Director, for being here.
Thank you.
I know we've had this conversation, and you had the conversation with the community, but could you just kind of lay out if you support the amendment and also just
Sure.
the path forward?
We do, I do. And essentially, we know that Ocean Safety's district headquarters on the North Shore is not acceptable. It's an old house. And we decided, and Mayor is very supportive of building a new district headquarters for Ocean Safety, and that includes like the captain, the response lieutenants, places to keep the jet skis, the rescue skis. Only the administrative staff is going to be in the facility all day. Everybody else is going to be out in the field. But it's a place to keep stuff, meetings, a professional building for what they need up there. At the same time, we know probably within the next 3 budget cycles, we need to fund an ambulance for the North Shore, for Sunset Beach, cutting the distance between Kahuku and Wailua. So probably the 27 budget is my best guess. But we need, and then we thought we could house the facility in the same place. We are currently in a planning stage for the same exact type of facility in Kaka'ako for the South Shore District headquarters and put an ambulance there. But keeping in mind that we will most likely be 2 separate departments, so housed in the same area, but with separations to account for the different response needs, because the EMS folks stay there 24/7, whereas the ocean safety folks there are not there overnight. So with this in mind, we did put some planning money in last year's budget under parks to do something joint in a already city-owned property. And one of the ones we were looking at was just adjacent to Sunset Beach Elementary. So we took this idea to the community to get input from them, since they lived there and they knew their community best. And what they told us was overwhelmingly they would like us to be on a commercial property in the Sharks Cove area. And so we've taken that to heart, and we've are looking into that as well as a site in addition to looking at other city-owned sites. So while the site has not been ultimately decided yet, we're very supportive and know we need to put an Ocean Safety District headquarters there, as well as an EMS ambulance station.
I appreciate that. I think one of the testifiers earlier had mentioned how it's within the mayor's long-term plan or vision, as he's outlined, in terms of increasing public safety on the North Shore. And just for the committee's understanding, you're sharing places that the community have brought up that are appropriate, but really this is the CIP ad would be helping facilitate any planning or design that's needed to make an eventual first responder hub or ocean safety / ambulance facility a reality. So it's not necessarily specific to location yet, but provides the opportunity for administration to access the funds to start to do design and planning.
Yes, and thank you, and we appreciate that. And there's no doubt we need the facility there. We need an ambulance there in that facility. But the exact location, as you said, we are still looking at what's best. But we're taking to heart what the community has overwhelmingly told us where they want it. So I think that still, again, needs to be worked out. But we want a presence there.
Appreciate that. That's actually really great to hear. Thank you, Chair.
Members, any other questions? I have a question relating, you mentioned South Shore Center or Hub. Where is that?
So our department transferred land from another city department last year, I believe, in Kaka'ako. And so we're looking near the medical school to put a district headquarters there for ocean safety, as well as an EMS ambulance for Kaka'ako. In our budget this year, we've proposed planning money for the same kind of facility in Waianae, behind the Waianae Fire Station. Again, there's 4 ocean safety districts, so ultimately we need 4 ocean safety district headquarters, and we're thinking just for economy, we put an ambulance there as well, whether we're separate departments or not. So with the design of the Kaka'ako station really in process right now, Waianae in the planning budget for this year, Waianae, this would take care of the North Shore of Oahu. And then I'm going to look at the council chair for his district, Hawaii Kai, is all that's remaining. And we've been in discussions for the area kind of around the park and ride, and there's some Kamehameha Schools own some land there, the city owns some land there, but that would kind of generally be the area we'd think for a Hawaii Kai ambulance. We have an ambulance in Hawaii Kai, but it's at the fire station, and then perhaps a headquarters for that district for ocean safety. Right now, they're in the Cocoa Head District Park. And again, all the facilities and all the districts that ocean safety's been in are not up to what I would consider appropriate for our ocean safety folks.
So that means then you would have 3 of the 4 possibly in design and planning in the next fiscal year.
Correct. And then we would look at subsequent years, budget years for CIP funding to actually build the facilities. But getting the land first, then planning, then design, and then CIP. But all these are in the pipeline except now Hawaii Kai. So we're just really trying to settle on the land.
Wow, that's great to know. Okay. Would love to learn about that further and possibly updates in a committee or something. Okay, members, any other questions relating to this? Okay, we'll accept this on page 2. Moving forward to design and construction, we have guardrail improvements as well as pedestrian improvements for California Avenue, which is first up, we have guardrail improvements. We are amending the description because it started in a certain way, but we're going to list it as acquire land, design, construct, and inspect sustainable and resilient guardrail improvements at various locations, including concrete barriers and guardrails at the corner of St. Louis Drive and Bertram Street. Councilmember Say?
Yes, driving up St. Louis Drive is a lot of curves and turns, and it's very difficult in most cases. And a lot of times, a lot of our sidewalks are not sidewalks. They're unimproved sidewalks. So the guardrails will be very important in protecting the residents, the seniors who are walking and exercising in the morning, and I truly believe it will be a benefit for the community of St. Louis Heights.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any questions relating to this? Okay, we'll accept. Next is a new project for plan and design sidewalk improvements for California Avenue. Councilmember Wire, or Committee Vice Chair Wire.
Mahalo, Chair. So ultimately, this was to help facilitate and ensure that P1 can begin and continue for planned improvements to California Ave. There's multiple sidewalk projects, I think, in Wahiawa area that are important. And essentially what this is, it'd be, I guess, safeguarding the local match that would be needed for this particular project that is getting federal funds. It's our understanding that there may be a state allocation that comes through in the budget, and then at that point, we wouldn't even need to ask Mayor to release it, and so it wouldn't go against our bond funding or our credit. But in the event that the funds are needed to keep the project timely, we just ask that it be included in the budget as an amendment.
Okay, I have a question.
Of course.
Do you have any questions? I'm sorry. Do you have any questions for DTS? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any questions. If you have questions, I'll defer, but.
Okay, yes, I have a question for DTS relating to, we know that the California Avenue Complete Streets was just completed in the last few years. Does that not include sidewalk improvements? Sorry.
There was some improvements done. Not the sidewalks we're talking about have not been done. We do have 3.2 million in federal funds, as council member mentioned. We are in discussions with state representatives to hopefully fund the local share of that federal funds. And my understanding is this is a backup in the event that that state share does not come through.
Okay, so when we do complete streets, we're only looking at the topography of the street itself, not the actual walk paths.
There are different areas of improvement, and this goes further up the hill than I think our current project does, and it goes to some other streets as well. But it has been a long part of our plan for California Avenue.
Okay.
It is included in our pedestrian master plan. It's a prioritized improvement.
Okay, so okay, my question is for the committee vice chair. When you said P1, is that phase 1 or is that priority 1 for the Oahu pedestrian plan?
I'll ask, what does that stand for again?
That's preliminary engineering.
Preliminary engineering.
Sorry, okay.
And then there's no, this is fascinating. I mean, I appreciate DTS's work because it's extremely complicated. But I know that there's a lot of work that goes into trying to leverage federal funds and all these different funding sources. And I know that our state counterparts have been, very interested in seeing sidewalk improvements in the area as well. So that's why.
Sidewalks. So first up, it's the language change made by Councilmember Say to construct and inspect.
Particular improvement.
Thank you. Members, any questions? If there's possible additions for this proviso in the CD2, this is a project to look into. Thank you very much. I will accept. Moving forward, we have Councilmember Say again. Alawai Bridge, design and construct. We're accepting the language change. We're design, construct, and inspect a new pedestrian and bicycle bridge over the Alawai Canal between Waikiki, Ala Moana, and Makalimo Ili neighborhoods. The additional language is the design phase of the project must include consideration of a bridge design with a lower height and width. Okay, Councilmember Say?
In strong support of the measure, the
Okay.
Alawai Bridge.
Director Millis? Director Millis, or DTS, whomever.
I think we're OIC'd on the project.
Okay, I was wondering, would this language suffice to have this considered with the request of a lower height and width?
No objection to the language at all.
Okay, members accept. Any questions? Okay, next up. Members, as you all know, as it affects a lot of our districts, we have drainage improvements at various locations. Members, different members have made this request, so I have combined it into one proviso. So please give me a moment to read it, and then we can provide comments. I will ask the different council members to share their comments or if they have any questions. First up, I will be accepting the language change and amend the description to read acquire land, plan, design, construct, and inspect drainage improvements to include drain manholes, box culverts, and drain extensions at various locations, including but not limited to, Keoneana Street, Hunakai Street, Limu Place, Kula Aupuni Street, and additional storm drains at the corners of Patty Drive and Lelehune Place in Manoa. Members, these are a combination of provisos by Council Chair Waters, Councilmember Say, and Councilmember Tupola. So I will go with Council Chair Waters first, and then Councilmember Say.
Thank you so much. Keoneana Street is in Waikiki, Hunakai is in Kahala, and Limu is in Aina Haina. And I've been receiving lots of concerns about this area in my district, so your favorable consideration is appreciated. Thank you.
Councilmember Say.
Yes, same thing. Same thing. This particular project in Lilihuni Place has been done by DFM in looking at the stormwater drainage issues that Manoa Valley is having, and this particular issue will try to address the flow of water into Manoa Stream.
Thank you. Do we know the ownership? If are they city streets? I mean.
Well, the easement is tied to the city and county of Honolulu, the stormwater drainage system, and that's where it is part of the easement of a private property that flows into the stream.
Thank
Yes.
you. Council Chair Waters.
Pardon?
Is this a city? Are these two city streets?
All three are city streets, yes.
Three.
Thank you.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I will ask Councilmember Tipola. I'm sure it's probably a city street. If not, then we'll have the departments discuss with us later. So members, I will accept this. And I do, once again, it's accepting the language change and combining the three requests. I do have a question for, I don't know who this would be. Which department? Would it be DDC? Okay, Director Millis, I have a question relating to other projects. Are there ongoing projects with other streets that are under this project number?
Good evening. Haku Millis, Director for Department of Design and Construction. Thank you for the question. We do have projects slated to utilize these funds already. So these projects have been identified previously, and a lot of them, it looks like, will be in design phase. So yeah, a lot of that money is spoken for, at least in the planning for utilization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any other questions for Director Millis? Okay, thank you, members. I also would like to note that because I'm accepting the combined amendments, that the other amendments will, once again, just not be accepted, but accepted as the amended language, okay? Thank you. Next up, we have on page 5, it is the wastewater planning for Oahu. I do want to share that we're going to accept it, but I am recommending it be a new project to read as follows: North Shore Regional Wastewater Alternatives, and it will include update the North Shore Regional Wastewater Alternatives Plan to evaluate alternative means of wastewater treatment for Haleiwa, Mokuleia, Waialua areas, Sunset Beach, etc., of the North Shore, and prepare environmental documents. Councilmember Wire, what are your thoughts about making this a new project as opposed to including it under wastewater planning for Oahu?
That sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Director Babcock, do you have any thoughts on this new project?
Yeah, good evening, council members. Roger Babcock, Director, Department of Environmental Services. Yeah, we're familiar with this. We talked to Councilmember Wire about this project. We have, we talked about, we have a couple other projects that are related to this in the area that are currently in contracting with our consultants. But this would be an even more comprehensive look, including kind of an update of a study that was done around more than 10 years ago on the same subject. But some things have changed with respect to the options and considerations. So we're planning to do this work. Happy to answer any questions.
Appreciate that, Director and Chair.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, thank you. I also am going to be changing the funding code from GN to sewer.
Yeah, that's correct. That would make sense.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And any questions about that?
No, just want to say mahalo, Chair, and then also to Director, because aside from this, I know there are a lot of complexities, but just the willingness to engage the community. They're appreciative of you being willing to come out, talk to the committee, the subcommittee of the neighborhood board and whatnot. So thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Yeah, thanks. We'll be sure, we will definitely be doing that.
Okay. Mahalo.
Okay. Members, I will accept that. Any questions about the new project? Councilmember Say.
You know, I do support the project, but the concern I have, Councilmember Wire, is the fact that once we do this study and it determines that there is going to be a wastewater treatment plant, I don't want to see any more development out there. And that's the unintended consequences. Mr. Babcock, your thoughts? The unintended consequences, if you do the study and there is a wastewater treatment plant, does that qualify now that I can go and develop the areas?
Yeah, so the study wouldn't, is a study, and it's planning, and it's valuation, and looking at costs. That doesn't necessarily mean we for sure do a project. That would be another phase to determine how and when that would happen. Or I guess even if it would happen. So some of the options are community-based, and some would be county-based. Yep.
For discussion, Chair.
Oh, Committee Vice Chair Wire.
No, I just wanted to, I think Councilmember Say brings a good point. Just to make sure I was understanding. So you're saying folks may be concerned that new development is going to come in when they're doing maybe sewering? Was that kind of the takeaway? Yeah. Yeah, and no, I think that's been an issue that's come up in the community at times. I do think at the same time, just with the point in time where we are now with just folks dealing with cesspool conversion, you know, some folks having limited space on their property. Of course, many people having limited income or resources. I think it's incumbent upon us, especially if the state, and aren't going to ask for a response, but some folks I talked to across the street seem to think it's city's responsibility to just solve all of it. So who knows what responsibilities we're going to find ourselves with. Of course, I think most people have been collaborative, so I'm appreciative of that. But just wanted to throw that out there that I do think Councilmember Say is completely correct. We have to approach each, subject, each project with sensitivity and be receptive to community input.
Okay. Thank you. I accepted that. Next, we have Community Revitalization Initiative on page 6. So the reason why I do have questions, Council Vice Chair Kia Aina, I noted that only 10 million was expended. Have you heard from the city administration that if we give them the 25 million, that we will be able to utilize at least 20 million, not lapsing too much? I mean, not lapsing too much.
I'm sorry, what is your question? What about the 10 million?
Oh, so 10 million, only 10 million out of the last 2 years was expended for Community Revitalization Initiative. I understand that you're proposing 25 million, and I was wondering if you happen to know if they have any plans so that we can spend down the 25 million?
Well, I wasn't pleased that they didn't put money in the budget for this. Can you come up here, Director Krucky? Because if you tell me that you guys don't need this money, I'm going to be very displeased, because if you look at the description of this, I'm giving you the flexibility. You guys are doing a lot of wonderful things down at Ivaley. I'd like to see that you guys expand to other areas on Oahu. And I want to get you guys the necessary resources. So I'm assuming that if these funds were provided, you guys would spend it down. Is that correct?
Vice Chair, thank you. Anton Krucky, Department of Community Services Director. That is correct. We went on a hold while we were doing this planning for how we were going to acquire properties and such, and so now we've kind of got a better method. So now with this money that you've put in, which we very much appreciate, we'd be able to cite properties and working with you that we want to do, and then when we propose it to DLM to acquire, I could propose it with the money.
Got it. We would you recommend, could you use the full 25 million?
Yes.
And by the way, thank you for coming to the site visit for the former HPU in Kaneohe. The acquisition was about 20 million, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and I just for the other members here, both the state is considering acquiring that, as well as 3 developers, and at a minimum, in concert with the emergency services, because we are looking at siting another station for Dr. Ireland's team. We believe that that would be a wonderful location to help as fallback for when our ambulances are in use, either in Kaneohe, Kailua, or Waimanalo. And so I just would like to respectfully ask the chair to provide the full 25 million. I know that the other request that I had was not put in that budget, and so that means,
I'll explain.
yes, but I've only have 2 asks. I can understand the community policing, but I only asked $250,000 for the DC lobbyists. And so this one is more important to me than my other requests. So I would like to fully fund this at $25 million.
Thank you. So first off, I'm very much in support of this project. I want to say, as a former staffer, as a former staffer of a council member who utilized this CIP and have seen programs set up in the district for my current council district. We've seen urban rest stops. That's why you see so many services in my council district, is because of this type of flexible funding to support DCS and their contracts and more. So it's not like I'm hogging all the services or we're putting it all in my Kalihi areas, but it's because of funding like this. So first off, I want to share that it's not just on Director Krupke, it's on all of us too, to identify locations in our communities to do so as well. We've seen different iterations. When I was a staffer, we've seen iterations of 9 million, 18 million per council district, where we saw just my council district receiving the funding, while the rest of the council districts did not. Now, I'm not calling out, I can say that now because only one council member was here during that time. So we're not restricting it to each council district, but I hope that we can look at our own council districts to be part of the solution as well. With that, I will accept the full $25 million for this. Mahalo. Next up, we have under land management. I do want to note, under the budget book, Council Vice Chair, okay. Council Vice Chair, can I just have you sit back down? I do have to note, under land management for affordable housing, for your recommended 70 million, I did not include it because I wanted the city administration to share with us why it was not included in their budget book. So.
Okay, thank you for that explanation, and look forward to hearing from them, but greatly appreciative of what you did for community services, because I think they are already moving the needle forward on a multitude of projects, especially in Honolulu, and I would like to see that replicated elsewhere on Oahu.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll follow up in the other.
Yes, and I will follow up with my questions, with our questions that we received from today and to the city administration. With that, we have affordable housing development. We are amending the description to provide affordable housing AF funding for any projects eligible under ROH Chapter 6, Article 63, and the revised charter of the City and County of Honolulu, Section 9-204, which may be administered or managed by the City and County of Honolulu in conjunction with private nonprofit or private developers. And this includes the language provided that 50% of the monies may be expended or encumbered only for specific projects or portions of projects that are also receive funding from by the state through the State Rental Housing Revolving Fund. Councilmember Say, would you be able to explain that? And I don't know who will be responding to this. Councilmember Say.
Chair, yeah, could we get Ms. Matsubara?
Okay, Mrs. Seri Matsubara. We have a question from Councilmember Say. We are on land management for affordable housing development. I want to share that if you look at the bottom here, you'll see that there's the stipulation that provided by 50% of the monies may be expended only for specific projects and portions of projects that are also receive funding by the state through the State Rental Housing Revolving Fund.
Good evening, Budget Chair, members of the City Council. Denise Seri Matsubara, Executive Director for the Office of Housing. I'm sorry, DLM is not present. However, we are coordinating the administration with DLM on this. I'm going to let Deputy BFS Director speak on her rebuttal for this, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Budget Chair. Carrie Castro, Deputy Director, Budget and Fiscal Services. So we respectfully request that this amendment be deferred. And the reason for that is that we already have $20 million in the 2024 CIP budget that is available for us to use through June of 2025.
Okay, is it okay if I have questions? I have one clarification. Is that okay? Okay, is that $20 million in the affordable housing development, or is that under affordable housing project?
It's in this project, as noted, 2024-001.
Can you repeat the project number? 2024.
Sorry. Okay. Apologize. So we have $3 million, $8.3 million in the current budget, but we have $22.8 million that is in the Affordable Housing Fund under DLM for FY25 CIP.
Okay. So $22,848,000 under Affordable Housing Fund for affordable housing development. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and 8.3 million in where?
In the, sorry.
Denise Seri Matsubara, Office of Housing again. We currently have 8.3 million in the Affordable Housing Fund for fiscal year 24, and 22.8 million is the appropriation request for fiscal year 25. I think the reason for the deferral BFS is asking for is just for some time to discuss what this would mean for the fund going forward, because of the concern with possibly limiting flexibility. But as I read your condition, I see that there is flexibility in there because it's a may instead of a shall. And the logic I totally agree with, because it usually has to coordinate with the Rental Housing Revolving Fund and LIHTC program anyway. The reason I think they want the deferral is, should down the road, long term, the city decide it wants to concentrate its funds on problems that need help, projects that need help at the city level, like a Enna Road, like a 1615 Alawai, that perhaps you want to dedicate a good portion of your fund instead of expecting the state to coordinate, because these projects will probably not score well on the state program. So I think that was the only concern council members say. So I think this is a good idea. It looks to me like it allows the flexibility, but I think that they were asking for time for further discussion on this. Thank you.
Madam Chair, we do have time to April, right? So why don't we?
April 25.
Okay, why don't we just keep it alive for further discussion?
Keep it alive for further discussion. Okay. If I may ask clarifying questions. Okay. Director Isari Matsubara, I have a question. First off, the 22.8 million, because I want to make sure that all the members kind of know what we're talking about. There's a lot of CIP projects with affordable housing, correct? Right now, the 22.8 million that we're referring to, that you're asking to, I guess the language to be deferred, is under 2025001, which is under the Affordable Housing Development Project, correct? And so that's the 22,848,000 that we see. However, we don't see it on our worksheets because it hasn't been amended, but the 8.3 million that you're referring to is under project 2016-001, which is the Affordable Housing Strategic Development Program project, right? That was adopted last year with $8.3 million. So you're telling me that from last year, $8.3 million is still left in that project.
That is correct. I don't have the project number in front of me for the prior fiscal year, but
2016-001.
you are absolutely correct. That fund is still there. What had happened is it transitioned over from administration responsibility from DCS to DLM/HOU just recently, being that we're going to lend our experience in housing finance to this. So this is why it's taken a while. It's now in procurement. It was submitted to procurement on March 7th, and we anticipate, or we hope, depending on, how they process it, it coming out by mid-April to issue a solicitation. So it's a very quick turnaround because we know the lapse date is June 30, right? Well, technically, because I think the fund itself doesn't lapse, but it has to be reappropriated. So it is a tight turnaround because
it won't lapse this June 30. It's next June 30. We adopted it in Ordinance 23-16. I hope I'm not making that number up, but I think it's Ordinance 23-16 for this project to last for 2 years.
Okay, correct.
So what you're saying
right.
is what we approved last year in 23-16, please correct me if I'm wrong, OCS. Okay, it's correct. Ordinance 23-16 is still in play, and it's because we transitioned the funding project from DCS to DLM/housing. Is that correct?
correct.
And
Recently.
what is recently?
I want to say, I don't have the OIC in front of me, but there was a memo that was sent, exchanged between DCS to DLM. I don't even want to guess, but recently. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to make up a date.
So, this isn't as alarming as the 10 million that was, the lapsing of funding in the Community Revitalization Initiative, but with the 8.3 million, are we able to have a quick turnover of utilizing the funds? Because, of course, we want to support the Affordable Housing Strategic Development Program, but how can we be sure that the money within the 2 years will be, or now just 1 year and a half, will be expended?
That's a very good question, and it's a valid concern. But what the Office of Housing did with DLM was look at the funding conditions to try and coordinate it better with the program that supports this constrained or conditional use of the funds, because you're limited to 60% AMI for 60 years. There's only one program of scale that does it. The realization of that came to the city just recently. So that's why we're trying to redirect the administration of this. It's going to reward project readiness, site control, and all the things that go into a project that's feasible and ready.
Okay, thank you. And speaking of many projects, I'm sure you heard that I have a concern that of the affordable housing project under land management, I know your Office of Housing, but was not included in this year's budget book. So I'll be providing that to the administration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Members, thoughts on the comments by the administration to defer the language? Councilmember Say, I cannot hear you.
Yep, to defer, to get clarification.
Okay, we will reject the language change relating to that. Members, I hope that you all took notes that the 8.3 million from 2016-001 was transitioned, okay? We gotta follow up on that next year. Okay. Hopefully you guys took notes because I cannot read my notes now. Okay, reject that. One moment. Page 6, page 7. Okay, page 7. We have, first up, we have, okay, so first up, the LOI Community Park Canoe Halau at $1 million for plan, design, construct, and inspect sustainable and resilient improvements to Canoe Halau. Council Chair Waters.
Thank you so much. As I mentioned during the budget briefings, Alawai Canoe Halau is home to probably about a half a dozen canoe clubs servicing kids from 8 years old to kupuna who are over 70 years old. And by the way, the clubs that are on the Alawai, just because they're in Councilmember Say's district, they are also members from each of our own districts who actually may live in Waianae, as an example, or Kailua, but work in town and paddle canoe in town. The building is really dilapidated. Yeah, it's in many ways unsafe and needs to be rebuilt. There also is no water to wash off the Alawai Canal after paddling. In addition, there's a number of high school canoe teams and kayak teams that also practice on the Alawai. So this project would be a wonderful, wonderful thing if we could get it completed. So thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions? See none? Okay, next up, Black Rocks Beach Park, Councilmember DePola. Let's see here. Plan design, construct, inspect, and provide equipment for parking lot, lighting, and a cattle gate at Black Rocks Beach Park in Waianae. First up, I know there's no project number, so I have a question for Deputy Director Pu relating to, first up, I want to make sure that this is the name of the park, Beach Park. Is that the correct name?
I did ask my staff. I believe this is the park that we refer to as tracks, but I would probably need to follow up.
Okay. If you do have any changes, please work with the council member.
No changes. In fact, for all of the projects, like, we don't contest the need, but we do want to say that our administration manages our CIP budget based on availability of funding and the human resources available to complete these projects.
Understood. Thank you very much. So we'll accept, and Deputy Director, if you could please just double check, yeah? Thank you so much. Next, Hau'ula Community Park Improvements.
Chair?
Oh, yes.
Can I just ask a quick question of the deputy?
Sure.
If these projects were to be funded, does the projects in the queue get impacted? Do projects in the queue get impacted? Are you going to be forced to have to reprioritize the CIP projects for parks as a result of what gets passed or not? This is in addition to.
Well, right now, as I read it, it would be in addition to what we've proposed, because there hasn't been
got it. I just want to make sure
to reduce.
Okay. Because my priorities have been put in already. So, okay, thank you.
That is correct. Okay. Accepting that. Next, oh, I'm sorry, hold on. Plan, design, construct, inspect, and provide related equipment to replace the lighting systems at Hau'ula Community Park. First up, I do want to bring up for the next two, because I'm not trying to diminish Hau'ula. I'm trying to highlight that Herbert K. Pilili A'au Community Park. So a lot of these parks, I brought up to the director that they were under the NORESCO contracts. I don't know the word. So I mentioned to her earlier that we're starting to see a lot of these parks come up relating to regarding concern about lighting. I understand that maybe the NORESCO project did not include those particular parts of the projects, right? So I guess my question is, I don't want to say prevent, but so that we don't have to keep going back to the NORESCO project or whatever. Is there a park that has been fully under the NORESCO project, and are we looking to support parks fully under the NORESCO project? Does it make sense? Does that make sense, first off?
I think so. Well, so you folks know, so Noresco will replace existing existing lighting fixtures, sorry, with more energy efficient LED lighting. So basically they're swapping out and making them more energy efficient. However, if the lighting, if it's non-existent, Noresco won't do that. So that becomes a DDC project, right, to install brand new lighting. If, say, a light pole or something also needs to be replaced, that becomes a capital improvement project also, and that would be our sister department, DDC, to do that work. So as Laura shared earlier, right, we don't have electricians, so DDC will do all new or new construction or reconstruction replacement, and then DFM, their electricians help take care of maintenance and monitoring. So again, under Noresco, we don't construct new, we swap out and replace existing.
Oh, okay, thank you. And are we looking for like a second phase of the projects for under Noresco?
Yes, so we are discussing a second phase. And so just so you folks know, 49 parks, lighting for 49 parks, I don't have the list here, but I can get that to you folks, were included in the Noresco project. So the lighting projects for those parks have been completed. Pili La'au was included. I do know based on a community meeting I attended a couple months ago that they're looking to light other parts of the park that aren't currently lighted. But I think we'd have to discuss with Councilmember Tupola more in detail to see what it is that she's looking for.
Okay, thank you. So I will accept the 2 lighting, and then for Ka'ava Beach Park, plan and design, construct, inspect, and provide related equipment for repairs and renovations for a comfort station at Ka'ava Beach Park. Any thoughts?
As I said earlier, we do not contest all the ads. I mean, the need for these projects. But again, given our budget and the available resources to manage all of these projects, like that is what drives what we're able to do.
Thank you. And as you've seen, I don't have any requests because I think we work really well together for our office. Thank you. Okay, so we'll accept that. Moving forward. Oops. We have, let's see here. Oh, okay, this is Councilmember Okimoto's. As you heard, covering and lighting for the inline skate facility.
Thank you, Chair. And Deputy Director, I'm not sure if you got to see the group that was here earlier, but yeah, they gave a really good case for the reason for this. But this is an improvement for the park that's already existing, and I know the mayor has, along with myself, gone and visited them there. So this facility is used by, again, not just people that within Mililani, but as you may have noticed, from around the island. So we're hoping that the parts of the island, that this, even though it's in my district, that we can help and serve other parts of the island by providing them with this much needed resource. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, next, we're going, Councilmember Tolba for Kapapapuhi.
Thank you, Chair. In full support.
Okay. I think I had a question. Do we have a current project there? No, we don't, yeah? Or do we? At Kapapapuhi Point Park?
Well, the nonprofit was just awarded the MOU to do cleanups.
Oh, just cleanups?
Yeah.
Okay, understood. Okay, thank you. We'll accept Kapolei Regional Park. This is another one that I saw also on the Noresco project. Under lighting, I don't know, it's at the skate park specifically. I don't know where the Noresco project covered, but this just highlighted to me because when I see Noresco project and I see the request again, and I see that's requesting for lighting, I'm just wondering if we can have that covered by have parks, like particular parks fully covered by the Noresco project.
For this park, I So I'm not sure if this one already has lighting, that skate park. Haku's not looking at me, so he might not know.
Oh, he's
So
looking
we'd
at you
have to
now.
check if there
Okay.
already is lighting and it's a matter of, again, changing out to make it more energy efficient. That could be considered in phase two.
Phase two?
If not, if there isn't any, then it would be a CIP project. I hope that
Okay.
answers your question.
Yes. If you do happen to find anything, please work with the council member of the district. Thank you. Next, Kaupuni Neighborhood Park. I do have to change the description. She's not here, but I'm just going to share. Construct a playground and park improvements at Kaupuni Neighborhood Park in Waianae. Or accept that. Members, as you see, there's $1,000 in it. I do want to note that when you have projects, to please put a dollar amount, whether it be $1, $1,000 better, to enter the project, be accepted, or else I will reject it. Thank you. Okay. I also want to note that Kaupuni Neighborhood Park was not in the bill, and so if there is no dollar amount, it would just not be added. Next up, Maili Beach Park. I have to change the description to construct a playground and park improvements. No, never mind. That's for something else. Excuse me. Plan, design, construct, inspect, and provide equipment at Beach Park lighting and other park improvements at Maili Beach Park in Waianae. Next up, Makiki District Park. Council members say we have to, hold on, let's see. Oh, no, it's the same. Okay, Councilmember, say, do you have anything to add for the next two?
Yeah, it's just tied to the Makiki Master Plan that was adopted in the 1980s.
The 1980s?
Yep.
Okay. Does Makiki District Park have a community garden already?
Yes, they do.
Oh, that's the one with a community garden. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking somewhere else. Okay. We'll accept, and for Palolo, we're accepting the language and moving it to under the project of renovate recreational facilities.
Yeah.
Councilmember Say, are you okay with that?
That'll be fine. It's on behalf of the residents and the kids of Palolo Housing.
Palolo Housing. Thank you. Okay, next up. It is 1, 2, 3. So we have first up, Council Chair, plan, design, construct, and inspect new outdoor play courts to include but not limited to sand volleyball courts.
Thank you so much. Sand volleyball is a very popular and growing sport, and it would be great if we could include them all around the island. I think they'll be very well used. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have recreation number 4 improvements, Kahuku, field lighting.
Mahalo, Chair. Just looking at these, and it looks like that they both, this one and the next one, District Number 5 improvements, were on the movement of the parks from the operating budget to the CIP budget. And so I don't have any additional questions, but happy to elaborate as needed.
No, I think we support it. We're accepted.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Page 10. Hold on. What? Did I do this? Okay. So I didn't have any specific parks for me. However, as you see at the top of page 10, we have renovate recreational facilities. I want to thank BFS Director, BFS Deputy Director Carrie Castle and her team for allowing for us, for requesting that we include in the CIP, if you could please explain the $6 million that is added back into this, or Director Millis, whomever. Please, this is for renovate recreational facilities.
Chair, I'm going to have Director Millis talk about this.
Okay, Director Millis.
Hi, Haku Millis, Director for Department of Design and Construction. We just want to say thank you for this. After the few meetings that we had in discussion to make sure we could complete specific projects, this is something that we requested and we are very appreciative to have in. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is $6 million, increasing in the project renovate recreational facilities. This will be under the GI funding amount, which would then increase the funding from $5,320,000 to $11,320,000 under renovate recreational facilities. And this is not specific to any parks, so I just want to note that this is not my specific own amendment, that I want to thank the city administration for providing this information to us. Questions? Okay, we'll accept. Next, under that same project, we have the recommendation by Council Chair Waters.
Thank you again. Kilauea District Park in my district is home to various sports leagues, including the Kaimuki Middle School. The tennis courts there are also in need of not just resurfacing, but rebuilding. And I'm open to a friendly amendment from my neighbor in Council District 5, adding outdoor court lighting at Pololo Valley District Park and baseball field lighting at Asing Community Park.
Thank you very much for noting that amendment change that has been moved from the project to this renovate recreational facilities. Once again, it's including but not limited to reconstruction of a gymnasium roof and tennis courts at Kilauea District Park, reconstruction of the walkway at Queens Beach Park, construction of new outdoor lighting at Pololo Valley District Park, and baseball field lighting at Asing Community Park. Next up, oh, I already said it.
Thank you, Chair. No, it's exciting. When I first got into office, the residents in the area complained about no lighting at Asing Park, and a lot of the coaches, and we know, all volunteer, and they get home at about 5:30, and depending on the time of the season, by the time they get there to the park to help these kids on their own time, there's no lighting. So a lot of their practices fall short. So thank you so much for putting this in and in full support.
Thank you. I want to say the lighting makes a huge difference. We have the Saints at Kalakaua District Park. I say the Saints because I'm a New Orleans Saints fan. So the Saints of Kalihi, they have their practice jerseys, which are black. And so I wouldn't be able to see them off of Kalihi Street. But now, because the lighting is fixed, I can see them practicing. Okay, I just needed to say that because, yeah, I understand.
No, I played on the same field and used to have lights way back when, so.
Get lights now, I promise.
Okay.
I made one video there.
Perfect.
It has really good
You
lighting.
don't want them to be missing each other on the field, right?
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, so that means we are accepting that combined amendments, not just for D4, but D5 and D9. Okay? Moving forward. We don't have any proposed amendments for utilities or other enterprises, including mass transit. However, we will now move down to provisos. The proposed proviso, as you see, members, if it's okay, can you all read it? My voice is tired. Take some time to read it, and I will follow up with you all. This is for accepting the language change for the Affordable Housing Development 2025-001. Hold on. I apologize. I forgot that I rejected it. Okay. Members, never mind. Don't take time to look at that. Please reject my reject the proposed proviso. Next up, which we have not rejected, hold on, we gotta double check. Sections 10 to 18 in the proviso, in the attached from pages 1 to 10. I'll give everyone a few minutes to review it. Let me check if there's anything as related to what I rejected. Members, any questions? If you see any other amendments as needed for this proviso, you can provide those amendments for the CIP CD2. Okay? Once again, for provisos, rejecting proposed proviso amendment relating to affordable housing development, I will accept the sections 10 to 18 amendments as seen in the attachment to this worksheet. Any questions? Okay, members, we did testimony already. So, if you have any further amendments, I look forward to your amendments April 25. The chair recommends that Bill 13, 2024 be amended to a CD1 that incorporates the changes described during the discussion today. Oh, sorry, hold on, let me go back. And ask, do you have any questions on the proviso relating to sections 10 to 18? Deputy Director Castle.
I apologize, Budget Chair Cordero. I don't have any amendments to the proviso, but with your indulgence, there is a couple of projects that I would like to speak to. I'm very sorry. I came in and you were already on that subject, so I wasn't able to interrupt you.
Okay, hold on. Let me switch gears.
It is the first project that's on the list of major equipment, procurement of major equipment.
Okay, go ahead.
So I wanted to share that the administration would like to defer this amendment because when it comes to using bonds to procure equipment, we have to keep in mind that the life of the bond follows the equipment. So, you know, when it comes to small vehicles and things of that nature, that doesn't necessarily coincide with the life of the bond. Secondly, you know, the cost of our debt when it comes to adding more bond funds or issuing more bonds, we also should keep that in mind because with respect to our credit rating and our bond rating, this is a component that is looked at. So I just would like to offer those words to the members.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do recognize that a lot of it was due to my amendments. I did ask the different departments to work with BFS and with us to then determine the equipment to go back into operating. So I'm going to accept this for now. It's going to be a lot of work for us to discuss this, but I do hope that we can have this discussion before I submit my CD2s. Thank you very much. Okay, members, any questions? As you heard throughout the operating budget, I did share that I am going to be taking their feedback into consideration. And I mean that. Okay. Chair recommends that Bill 13, 2024 be amended to a CD1 that incorporates the changes described during the discussion today and makes any technical and non-substantive amendments that may be necessary. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? The bill has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Bill 13, 2024 CD1 be reported out for second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving forward to our second to the last item, agenda number 6, Bill 14, 2024, authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds and bond anticipation notes of the City and County of Honolulu in a maximum principal amount equal to the aggregate of the amounts appropriated in the capital budget of said city and county for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2025, and specified in said ordinance to be financed from the proceeds of the sale of such bonds and to be expended from the General Improvement Bond Fund, the Highway Improvement Bond Fund, Solid Waste Improvement Fund, Bond Fund, and the Housing Development Special Fund. Members, that is exactly what Deputy Director Castle was alluding to. Once again, I do take her comments about especially the equipment, procurement for major equipment into account. But first up, we're going to take up testimony first, okay? We don't have any registered speakers online, but is there anyone online who wishes to testify? Seeing none? We are now moving to testimony in person. We don't have any registered in-person testifiers, but is there anyone in person who wishes to testify? Angela Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES. In favor of Bill 14. And so these general obligation bonds, okay, so there are funds, I think, that are integrated within the general obligation bond of Bill 14. And please forgive me, I'm just trying to read and summarize, and this is just my interpretation. So if I get some of the terminologies wrong, please forgive me. So it looks like a lot of the funds within the general obligation funds are to support infrastructure, which will be a big deal as the state is trying to help with the Senate proposal to build more housing units. And infrastructure is like the vehicle for delivery of the goals, and these funds and projects are providing for the foundation of delivering the overall goals. So in strong support of these funds listed in the general obligation bonds. So the Housing Development Special Fund is to address affordable housing crisis and the development of housing. And so the General Improvement Bond Fund is for public improvements appropriated in the capital budget ordinance. And
Thank you.
The solid
Your support?
Yeah, waste incineration facility is also good.
Angela, thank you. Okay, members, any discussion relating to this bill? And I think also what Deputy Director Castle alluded to from last also applies here. Okay, any questions for the administration? Moving forward, the chair recommends that Bill 14, 2024 be reported out for second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Last item of the agenda, we have Bill 11, 2024. This approves the legislative budget for the fiscal year 2024, July 1 to 2024 to June 30, 2025. I don't have my legislative budget. Hold on, guys. I need my legislative budget. It is Council Communications 80. Okay, members. We will start with the first amendment with the City Council. Members, we have an amendment for a reduction of funding for current expenses for object. What? Yeah, she was here. Object code 3751, fees for memberships and registration at the total of $27,450. Any questions? Council Chair Waters.
Thank you so much. Is Kenny Yamazaki present? There he is. Could you explain to the committee how we currently pay for these fees? There's two, right? NACO, National Organization of Counties, and National League of Cities. So for how do we pay for the NACO fees?
So we currently are billed or invoiced for our dues, and the invoices come through our office, and we process the invoice for payment.
But it's through Hawaii Association of Counties, right?
That is correct.
So when we pay our Hawaii Association of Counties dues, part of it is the NACO dues, right?
That is correct.
But is the National League of Cities separate?
It is separate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. My question, this is my amendment. What total does the $27,450 cover decrease? Which membership does this amount decrease?
So our NLC dues, if that's what you're referring to, for 2023 was $31,500. The year before it was $27,450. And my only concern with trying to parcel these dues is for the process in which we pay, and if we have to parcel it out or half the invoice, it just makes it it's just cleaner if one person or one organization pays for the dues. So a recommendation would be either we keep the dues within the legislative budget and pay them out of our office, or we put money in the managing director's budget to pay for the NLC dues, because they can get invoiced just like we would get invoiced, and if they got invoiced, then they can process for payment that way.
Thank you. I did bring that up to OER, which is and under the managing directors, and I did tell them about this amendment, and they said that if it's decreased, and of course if their budget is restored, then they would support paying for this fee, this membership.
Yeah, I mean that's great, as long as I think if we keep it either our office or their office or pays for it, it's just cleaner that way, process-wise.
Okay. Members, any questions? Committee Vice Chair Wire.
So my understanding is that based on the conversation, we're looking at maybe giving it wholly over to OER to manage or to pay. Okay. Totally respect and understand that. I'm just curious if that creates any like access issues for us potentially, or it will still be pretty clean cut because we're the same jurisdiction, we can access whatever we need to.
It should be pretty much the same.
Okay. And we're pretty confident that the administration is gonna continue to pay it. And that's my only question. Yeah. But okay, mahalo.
Members, any other questions relating to this? Any thoughts? Council Chair Waters.
Thank you, Chair. I was concerned about how we pay the NACO dues. So clearly, this doesn't have anything to do with NACO. It's National League of Cities, and I'll defer to you. If OER is willing to pay for it, that's great. I don't think it'll actually diminish our access to this resource, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Members, I do want to keep it in. I do want to have further discussions with OER because I do think right now they do have a lot of programs that is not only supported but through cohorts of NLC. So it would behoove that they support the NLC membership to keep occurring. That is my thoughts. And if there's any changes, then I will make my amendments for the CD too. Questions? Okay. Moving forward, I will accept. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. Moving forward to the city auditor. Members, you see that I have zeroed out the city auditor. I've had a great discussion with her, with the city auditor. It's not in any way, shape, or form to actually zero out the city auditor. I think that our city auditor has done a great job at focusing on her staff and her team to not just focusing on the audits themselves, but especially for advancing their certifications and more. I would love to see, and I provided the example of the Ethics Commission report, to the auditor as well. And so we have had a fruitful discussion, I believe. I just want to share with you all, because I obviously cannot talk to you all, that I want to highlight not only the advancement of our recommendations, but also something that Councilmember Tupola brought up relating to the policies. You know, we are partners here in the legislative branch, where we can follow up on policy making through the recommendations and more. With that, members, I do want to allow for our city auditor to even share maybe what we've discussed as well. But yeah, her thoughts about our discussions.
Thank you, Budget Chair. Yes, we did have a very fruitful discussion last week. Arushi Kumar, City Auditor. I'll try to keep this brief. I just want to take a moment to have some general comments in response to the proposals, and then I have some specific remarks to the amendments that we have included. You know, I know that the latest proposals don't defund our entire office as was initially proposed, but now maintains our salaries. But cutting other expenses, including the financial audit, effectively stops our work. So I think that if there is a deeper discussion that needs to be had about how we can better serve you, I'm open to having that conversation. I just want to clarify that our entire requested budget is $2.1 million. And because we're auditors, we do the math. 0.04% of the entire budget. So we're using less than 1/20th of 1% of the city's budget to provide accountability to the entire executive. And I just don't want the taxpayers to think that this body does not want to increase accountability in our institution. So I know there were some specific comments we had about the financial audit and the value that that provides to our taxpayers. It creates a lot of confusion. I understand that. It's a large amount of our budget, and it impacts a lot of other departments. And so I want to provide a little bit of context here about that financial audit, and then I will provide a little bit of information in writing because I want to continue this discussion. Any entity in the U.S., and many of you who have been in D.C., you are familiar with this, any entity in the U.S. that receives over $750,000 in federal government in grants from the federal government is required to undergo an audit referred to as the single audit of federal financial assistance programs. The City and County of Honolulu is well above that minimum of $750,000. We're in the hundreds of millions of dollars. As I heard you talk today with OER, with HART, with housing assistance, everything of that falls under that amount of federal grants. We're spending $450,000 a year to become eligible for hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government. So this financial audit is not just crucial, it's a requirement that we continue this every single year. But the second point that causes confusion is why we don't do this work in-house. And I understand that that's a valid question. The city and county has had this requirement since before my office was created in 2002. We've been doing this work for a long time because, again, it is required. I'm not sure what the process was before the office was created, but I'm pretty sure we were already contracting out with a public accounting firm. In the process of setting up our office in 2002, I think what was decided was for us to continue contracting out for financial audits while we set up a performance audit function, because that was the new work that hadn't been happening already. My predecessor, the first city auditor, was in fact a CPA, and he then decided that it's still best to keep that work contracted out, not in-house. My counterpart on Maui is a CPA, and I believe he contracts out for this work. This is a common practice by governments around the country. We cannot let this work lapse. So if it truly is the council's intention long-term for us to bring this work in-house, we are probably going to have to be double paying for a little while. We're going to have to continue paying our financial audit contractor to continue the work while we get the budget to set it up in our office, because the work can't stop. We have to meet our federal requirements. But the second piece is it's more cost effective for us to contract out. We, as auditors, look at all the other departments' contracts and consultants to see where we can find efficiency, so you better believe we've done that to ourselves. If we were to hire about 3 to 5 staff to do this work in-house, we would maybe budget $100,000 each. That's already over what we spend. And if we only budgeted $100,000 each, we probably wouldn't find qualified CPAs because the private sector pays a lot more. So ultimately, what we're doing is the most cost-effective way to continue meeting a federal requirement so that we remain eligible for federal financial assistance. Even the revised charter of Honolulu presumes we would contract out this work. It says the financial audits shall be conducted by a CPA or firm of CPAs. And then finally, according to charter, if we move the financial audits in-house, the person in my position has to be a CPA. It's required, again, by charter. So our first city auditor was a CPA, but my 2 predecessors after him were not. I am not. But if that's your preference, it's within your authority to find someone else for this position that is a CPA. So I know that that's a lot of background information at the end of a very long day, but it's a very important, vital thing for this entire city, that we continue this financial audit work.
Members, questions? Council Vice Chair Kia Aina.
Thank you. First of all, no, I don't question who should do the financial accounting for the federal grants, because even small nonprofits who go over a certain threshold have to contract out. So I don't know who's expressed concern to you, but I'm not questioning that. I saw that you sent out the audit. I did have a question because I didn't see all the federal agencies there. Are you only looking at federal formula funds, or are you including federal discretionary grants awarded to the departments and congressional earmarks? What is the scope of your of the federal assistance that you look at?
That is a great question, Councilmember. That is something that I don't want to provide you incorrect information, and I can talk with our financial auditors tomorrow to figure out exactly what we look at.
Yes, thank you, because I'm clearly interested. I just on first glance, it looks to me like the federal formula grants, and so that means we don't have a good idea of the universe. And the reason, of course, we want the universe is because I'd like to see measurable outcomes of an increase by the city administration beyond federal formula grants, and I actually want to see how much money they get from discretionary grants and then congressional earmarks. And the only way that we're going to know that is if you differentiate, because through that audit, you're going to be able to educate them about where they're missing the mark. Like, for example, I didn't see the U.S. Department of Commerce in there in the Economic Development Administration. So that's all.
Thank you.
And look forward to maybe setting up a separate meeting with the people who work with you on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, members. Okay, next up is my recommendation. I'm not going to accept any of my reductions for the city auditor. Any questions? Any questions for the city auditor? Any recommendations for the city auditor? Thank you for our discussion last week. Okay, members, we are now moving forward to the last page, page 2. Please just look at it, and I will accept it. Any questions on it? I'll give you all a few seconds.
Looks great, Chair.
Okay. Okay, all right. Okay, so just to reiterate, accepting the administration, rejecting the city auditor's reductions, and then accepting the proviso. Is that correct, OCS? Yeah? Okay. With that, members, I will make the recommendation. Whoops, hold up. Wait, any other questions? Sorry, any other questions relating to these amendments? Sorry. Oh. Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. I need to take up Bill 11 testimony. I totally forgot. We will now proceed with testifiers. We don't have any registered remote testifiers, but is there anyone online who wishes to testify? Okay, members, we don't have any registered in-person testifiers, but is there anyone in person who wishes to testify? Angela Young. Angela.
Aloha. Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support of the legislative budget. So although I do think all these projects contribute to the overall needs of the communities, and only altogether do the projects reflect the authenticity of the community's needs, I'm especially interested in the Solid Waste Special Fund because it's a piece in the infrastructure goals. So infrastructure is so critically important. And I think of all the infrastructure planning goals, the waste incineration facilities should be prioritized. And as an advocate of environmental pollution and the damaging effects of pollution, we should consider the effects of the incineration facilities. So H-Power processes trash and recycling by turning it into energy. And energy recovery from trash is a process of converting non-recyclable trash into renewable heat, electric power, or fuel through processes such as combustion, gasification, pyrolyzation, anaerobic digestion, and landfill gas recovery. And reading the environmental impact statement about the incineration site design.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
You're in
think
support?
it's good to support it.
Thank you. Chair recommends that Bill 11, 2024 be amended to a CD1 that incorporates the changes described during discussion today and makes any technical and non-substantive amendments that may be necessary. Any discussion? Me off. Hold on, I'm still making my recommendations. Any objections? Any reservations? The bill has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends Bill 11, 2024, CD1 be reported out for second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Members, there being no further business, hold on, I still have to see the committee members here tomorrow, 9 a.m. for our regular committee on budget. This meeting is adjourned.